Howdy, here's Bonnie with a quick ad. I started podcast recording. What I missed from the beginning was a platform that allowed me to record my interviews with my guests in a way that gives me complete overview over the entire situation, over the audio quality, video quality, internet connection. And exactly after 3 years of podcasting, I finally found my platform to record on. It's called Zencaster. It's so easy to record a podcast on Zencaster. Log in using your browser and start recording a high quality podcast right away. Record studio quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of Zen, knowing Zencaster's multi-layer backups ensure you always have your recordings in highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. All you have to do is go to zencaster.com/pricing, that's spelled zencastr.com/pricing, and use my code BonniesLegends, that's BONNIESLEGENDS, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencaster pay plan. I want you to have the same easy experience as I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Howdy, here's Bonnie, and welcome to another episode of Bonnie's Legends. I had the honor to sit down last Sunday with Finn from Kilgour, the band from Glasgow. They just released their debut album yesterday, like literally yesterday, and it's called How to Put Your Hat On. We talk about why it's titled like that. It has really interesting meaning, and it stands for something I think we all can relate to. Yeah, so we talked about the album a lot, what Finn's favorite track of it is. I also mentioned my favorite tracks of it. We dive into some of the making process of some specific songs individually, but also just generally of the process and how the band got together and what the story is behind the band. And yeah, it was a really nice conversation, and I hope you enjoyed as well. And yeah, go check out How to Put Your Hat On, the album. It's available on CD and vinyl, and yeah, stream it, buy it, tell your friends about it. I really enjoy the album, and I think you do too. So have fun listening to this episode, and as always, make sure to subscribe to this podcast. And I have exciting news. We will probably have Bonnie's Legends pins at the end of this month. So that's exciting. Yeah, but until then, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, and yeah, have fun listening to this conversation with Finn from Kilgour. So, ladies and gentlemen and others, I'm having Finn from Kilgour with me today.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here. I've listened to the album already, and when this interview comes out, I hope the listener has listened to it already as well. But yeah, thank you for sending me the SoundCloud link. That always feels special when an artist is sharing with me the music before it's coming out, especially an album.
You're very welcome. Yeah, it's funny because it's been finished for so long now. Like when I'm sending, like I'm trying to email people about like covering it or something, I'm just like, there's the album. Just have it now. I've sat on it for so long. I'm just like, I just want someone to hear it. So
yeah, No, I absolutely enjoyed listening to it. I listened to it first um before going to bed. Like, you have like an album session before you go to bed, and
Yeah,
then while driving as well. And it's such a good driving album, I have to say. I
happy
really enjoyed that.
to hear it. I can't drive, so I don't know that experience, but I'm glad. That's a thumbs up for me if it's a good drive.
Yeah, I'm driving for you. I'm doing the experience for you. um, yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed, and also I love how when you receive like a SoundCloud link, especially to an album that's not out yet, it's like you get I don't know, it feels like a secret almost. You don't want to listen to it too much because you're so aware of the tiny number of plays, and you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to be the cause of like big numbers of plays. Yeah, so yeah.
I'm glad.
Um,
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did. I did. I did. It was the right choice to invite you on the podcast. I mean, when people send me, I get a lot of requests over DM as well, and then I do check if the music is to my liking. And I saw the Instagram post, and I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's classic rock kind of vibes. I love it.
Happy
And
days.
yeah, so yeah, when I listened to the album, I was like, did the right choice.
Perfect. I'm glad I could tick that box.
Yeah. Okay, do you want to start with the bonus lessons check? These are like 4 questions to break the ice and also to get to know you.
Go for it.
So, first, name, pronouns, and birthday.
I'm Finn. My pronouns are he, him, and I was born in June 1997.
Nice. And the band is called Kilgour. Does the band have a birthday as well?
And I guess its birthday would be like August 2019 was when we recorded our first song. So um,
Nice.
with a different lineup, but yeah, 2019 is the
Well,
start.
love that. That's around my birthday, so.
Happy days. We're turning 4 this year.
Oh, yeah, wow. So we both have anniversaries.
Wait, no, 5. That was terrible
Oh
maths.
my God.
5. My
Wow.
God.
Amazing.
Halfway to double figures. You got a big
Half a
kid.
decade.
I know. Doesn't feel like that long though. Interestingly, it's funny. You just
Yeah.
kind of tied along. I think that the lockdown was a lot to do with that because we
Mm-hmm.
started it and then it was like we can't do anything.
Yeah.
And then it was like 2.5 years of nothing, and then kind of
Yeah.
slowly picking it back up. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I had that beginning of the year because it's not 2024, and I was like, what do you mean 2016 is not 5 years ago?
no, I know that's the thing that scares me is I'm seeing like 2016 in particular. I feel like I'm like James Acaster talking about his book here, but there's so many albums that like were
Mm,
like so I was obsessed with,
yeah.
and then like I listen to them constantly, and now I keep getting reminders that they're like 8 years old, or there's been ones that came out in like 2014, which to me when I talk about them, I'm like that's like this album
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
back I really liked it when it came out, and then I'm like, oh my god, that's 10 years old this year. It's scary,
Yes.
very scary.
Absolutely. Time passing is scary. Don't want to think too much about it.
We'll start crying on the podcast.
Yeah. Exactly. So who's your legend? Because my podcast is called Bonnie's Legends, and who's like a legend where you're like, oh damn, what for a genius in a way.
It'd be a toss up probably between John Martin and Ben Hard. I'm obsessed with both of those people. Um,
Nice.
which is funny because I don't think our music really, well, it definitely doesn't sound like John Martin.
No.
And some people have told me there's like they can hear bits of Ben Hard in it,
Mm.
but it's not very much like his music at all. But Ben Hard, especially over the last couple of years, is like everything he does is just gold to me. I don't know if are you a fan of Ben Hard?
I've heard of him. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, he did an album called Collections from the Whiteout in like 20, I think it was 2021, early 2021, when the lockdown was still happening. And that was one of my really stupid lockdown purchases. I bought like three different three different versions of the vinyl.
Mm.
I bought the limited edition poster, and I bought a Ben Hard jigsaw that he was selling, which is still in my wardrobe. I've never made the jigsaw. Um,
Yeah.
and it was ridiculous. It was like £120 on Ben Hard stuff, and I was like, "Well, I'm just sitting in the house doing nothing. I may as well."
Yeah. Exactly. And you supported them, so
Exactly.
yeah. Um. Yeah. Oh my god! It just reminded me that I bought like a box set wine, like a vinyl box set, which is ridiculously expensive of
Oh
like
yeah.
one of my artists. Yeah, one of my favorite artists, and Especially because like here in Europe we have now we get like toll fees when we get sent like a big package
Oh,
overseas. And so I remember that the toll fees were like the exact amount of like the box set, and I was
oh
so
no.
upset about it.
Oh, that's brutal. You're paying like double. Oh,
Yeah.
that is brutal.
So yeah, love how yeah vinyls. Yeah, sometimes it's a good way to support, but like
It's an
especially like with the different editions, it's just sometimes ridiculous.
I know it's an expensive hobby. And then you buy like one of the variations, and then that's not the one that goes on to be worth like hundreds of pounds, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what's going on? For God's sake!
Oh man. Yeah.
Who was the artist you bought the podcast or the box set from?
Oh, Angel Olsen.
Ah, well,
Yeah.
that's worth it. She's great.
Yeah, I know. But it was still like, wow, okay. And there was a book in it as well. Like book that oh, I actually always wanted to cut it out and just glue it on my wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, 3 days later, 3 years later, I'm coming back to the city.
Well, that's it was her album. We were talking about on Instagram, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was one of those ones that scared me. I was like, how is this so old? I remember
Yeah.
this. This is terrifying. Don't like
Yeah.
this at all. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, no,
Yeah,
she's
I've seen her live last summer in Birmingham, and I requested like she asked the crowd. I was standing in front row, and she asked the crowd. It was a tiny venue. Which songs do you want to hear? And I shouted, "Shut up, kiss me!" And she was like, "Oh, this song is so old." And she's like, and then she was like, I wrote this about a person like back then where I felt like, oh, I'm going to love them forever, but now I'm so annoyed every time I sing this song because I think of them. And I was like, okay.
like,
She still
oh,
sang it, but like it was a fun. I mean, if she wouldn't have told that story, I wouldn't have been aware of it. So it was just like,
yeah, that's
yeah, it
fair.
makes you think sometimes, especially because I'm a writer as well, and it's like sometimes I write pieces and I put it out, and then people could come up to me and be like, "Hey, I've read that," and I'd be like, "Oh God, okay."
No, please don't talk to me about that. I know
Yeah,
it is weird. It is weird. I get
yeah,
that with like there's like I did like an EP when I was like 17 or 18, and it's just like me and an acoustic guitar, and I hate it. It's on Spotify just because I'm like, well, it's done, and like I recorded it with a couple of friends, and it was a nice experience, so I wouldn't remove it. But
yeah,
I was in work, and the job I'm in now, I hadn't long started, and one of the managers came up and he'd heard that I played music, and he came up and he was like, "Oh, I was listening to your stuff. It's really good." And I was like, "Oh, I haven't told you the name of my band." He was like, "No, I just searched for you," and I immediately was like, "Oh God,
oh no.
oh no, he's listened to that." And he was just like, "Yeah, it's really nice." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah,
No, I want to listen to it as well.
I know.
You
So
bet what I will do after this.
it's so bad. There's like, I was like when I first started singing, I would like put on a weird like Ben Hard voice,
Mm,
sing with like a weird English accent, which is hilarious. And that was recorded like right as I was like phasing out of that. So
mm.
there's like really specific moments in it where I'm singing in a Belfast accent, and then all of a sudden I sound like I'm from like Devon, and I'm like, why, It just it
Yeah,
pains me to hear it, but that's part and parcel of putting music
yeah,
in this.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but I kind of put on it. You know how like especially because English is not my mother language, and so I'm very quick at like mirroring accents. And
Right?
so I feel really tapping. Like the moment I heard you, I was like tapping back into like my Newcastle friends, and I was like,
Oh
"Oh, okay,
yeah,
this is the voice I'm having on today."
nice. You're gonna start like sounding like Sam Fender in a minute. It's like
Yeah,
the Geordie accent. It
giving my best impression.
happens. I'll understand what's happened. You just
Yeah.
transitioned back to Geordie. That's funny.
Yeah. Okay. So you already said that so was that EP your first kind of music that you put out into the world?
Yeah, it was like the first thing I like got properly recorded. I'd like put stuff up on SoundCloud and stuff when I was really young,
Right. Yeah.
and then I played in a couple of different bands, but they like weren't my song. So that was like the first thing I did that was my tunes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then that would have been. I think I put it out in like it was either 2017 or 2018, when I was in first year of uni, um, and then we recorded the Kilgour first Kilgour singles the year after in 2019.
Nice. Nice, yeah. So you said it was a different lineup back then. So how did do you want to talk a bit about the band story from like, short like I mean we have like an hour, but like you can see like you can talk about the story behind Kilgour and
Well,
how, you came to this is your debut album now, right? Like how
yeah,
to
this
put
is
your hat on, yeah.
so it started out when I was home for uni, or I was home from uni in the summer, and I recorded two singles in a studio with my friend Keelan in Derry, and I'd like roped in like four or five of my friends from home. It was a guy Mark, my pal from school, Aiden, and Darren and Dan, who I played in another band with called Fox Colony, and we did those songs, and then I moved back to Glasgow. They came out in like 2020. Like the first one came out like I think January 2020. So I was like, yeah, all excited. And then 2 months later, lockdown happened.
Hmm.
I put the other one out in July that year, and then moved back to Glasgow obviously after the lockdown. And we've gone through a pile of drummers, um, but we've got Jimmy now drumming. Ewan, our bass player, he joined the band right at the start. He was one of the first people to join, and he's still in the band. And we now have Isaac, who's from Newcastle. Oh no, he's not from Newcastle. He lived in Newcastle until a couple of months ago. His girlfriend's from Newcastle, um, and we have Katie, who's doing keyboards and vocals now. So it's been
Nice.
good. It's been kind of a gradual lineup. We've had this lineup now since like the beginning of last year,
Hmm.
and it's sounding really good. It's like it's my favorite lineup of the band so far, which is nice.
That's good, yeah. Yeah, I like when I've been obsessed with like finding, 2010s indie bands that no longer exist. But like, I mean, I'm so like kind of fascinated like seeing the different lineups and then how they like stick to one and then they split up.
Yeah, I know.
So I really love when like, yeah, I love when an artist is like, this is my favorite lineup because it's like, yeah, this feels right.
Yeah, it immediately felt like Jimmy joined the band um, at the very beginning of 2023, and immediately it was like, right, sweet. He's like, it just felt so much tighter immediately. And then
Nice.
Katie uh, had played in another band with Ewan called American Clay, and we wanted some harmonies for the record while we were recording it, and we got her to record some. And then, kind of naturally, we're like, well, it'd be great if she would join the band. Unfortunately, she was up for it. So,
Yeah.
um, since then, it's like, yeah, it makes the difference when you have like four people who want to come and play songs,
Hmm.
right, and are like interested and keen.
Yeah.
Most importantly, and then they all are excellent players as well. So it just makes it feel much more natural. You don't feel like it becomes much less of a chore when like everybody is like involved and equally happy to be there. And
Yeah.
just willing to like play them, because it's a lot to ask. Like I was thinking, like I always think about this because I obviously do a lot of the kind of behind the scenes work because they're my songs and it's my band.
Yeah.
Commitment that you like ask for people when you want them to join a band and you're doing something like this album, like because it would be an absolute nightmare like doing an album campaign like and having no like solid lineup because at any point someone could disappear and then
Yeah.
you're back to square one having to teach people parts and stuff. So um it's nice to have people on board that are willing to like do the work
Yeah.
and take part in it. It just makes it much more joyous, really, which is
Nice.
what it should be. It shouldn't be boring.
Yeah. Yeah. So, did you start working on the album right away, like right beginning of 2023 when you kind of found the lineup?
No, the tunes were written in like 2020,
Mm-hmm.
first lockdown. I had got my first proper electric guitar. This is a sidestep, but it's
No,
funny.
no. Go
Uh,
ahead.
the summer before, when we in 2019, when we recorded the first singles, when I was home, I worked for a couple of months in this like science center in Belfast called W5.
All right.
It's like a kids science center, filled with all these like things that they can climb on and like silly science experiments and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was I can't even remember what my job title was, but it was like exhibition floor staff or something like that. And literally my job was to walk about and like not touch anything or like do anything. It was just to make sure that nobody died. Um, and even if something happened, like if like a kid got lost or something, like they were like, you can't do anything, like don't like try and like
Mm.
child anywhere, just radio and we'll get someone down and we'll make an announcement or whatever, but like don't go anywhere with the child, don't like speak to the child. So like literally would just, I spent 3 months literally walking in circles in this building, not doing really anything. um and then I left, went back to uni, and when I left, they gave me like a 0 hours contract, and they were like, if you're back for Christmas, you want to pick up a shift? And I was like, happy days, that'd be good. Never did, so I hadn't set foot in the building for literally like a year. And when I went back home to Ireland for the very first lockdown in 2020, I got a letter through the door being like, you're being furloughed by W5.
All
So
right.
for like probably was about 8 or 9 months, I was getting like £300 a month from this company that I had not set foot in the building for a year. And so I bought myself a Fender Jazzmaster, like my first nice acoustic guitar. I was playing this like really battered like that electro thing for ages.
Nice.
And then I just started instantly making loads of demos from that, and that's where the tunes from the album came in that sort of period. And then when I came back to Glasgow in 2021, Jimmy and I, in our old practice space, Jimmy and I used to play in another band that Jimmy still plays in called Sulka.
Okay.
We just did an album last year as well. So many side steps. It's like
That's
like
all right.
com build this like family tree. Um, so before he joined Kilgour, I had these batch of songs, and I wanted to like just kind of build the recordings of them, and maybe do a couple of singles. So me and Jimmy spent 2 days in our space and recorded the drums for all of them. He recorded them and I played them.
Mhm.
Um, so I was like, well, that's great. That means like as means like the drums are the most annoying part to record and expensive. So means that we can just keep building them up and like release these as singles as they get ready. And
Yeah.
then we got the deal with the label that we have. And originally I was like, I would like to do like an EP or something. And he was like, well, if we do it on vinyl, it costs the same if you do an album. So if you can do an album, just do an album. So I was like,
Nice.
don't have to tell me twice. So we just went ahead and finished all the tunes. And it ended up being mostly me and Ewan kind of recording them in different spaces, getting Katie involved. And we got Ewan's brother, Craig, to play like some keys and trumpets and stuff. Um, and then we sent it back to Keelan in Ireland, and he mixed it all. So
Nice.
he made it sound good because we like basically just recorded all the guitars like direct into my interface, so they were
Yeah.
just born, and he just reamped them through
Yeah.
everything in his studio and made them sound lethal. So
Good.
it was good.
Yeah, I definitely heard the trumpets, and I liked it actually because like nowadays, because I mean, there comes a lot of freedom of expression with nowadays having all these music DAWs which allow you to like play any instrument into it, but still at the end of the day, you can still hear the difference between like a real trumpet and one that comes from the computer. Yeah, so I definitely enjoyed that.
Absolutely, and like the cello on that track that has
Mhm.
as well. We got Keelan's friend Zara from Ireland to record the real cello because we were toying with the idea of just using like a plug-in or something.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm really glad that I did that actually because I was kind of teetering on the edge of like, we should just use a plug-in because like
yeah,
I'm already running out of money, and
yeah,
like, oh no, do you know what? I'll just do it, and we got Zara in to do it, and it was so worth it because it was just instantly like so
yeah,
much better.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Craig as well. He did the trumpets and he did all the like mad synthy stuff as well as class. He plays with Joseph. Do you know?
Hmm.
He's like a session musician, so he plays in Joseph's live band, and he used to play in a band called Pronto Mama from Glasgow, who were amazing. So I'd
All
recommend
right.
them out. You would like them.
Okay, I will check them out. Thank you. um, yeah. Okay. So the title is called "How to Put Your Hat On." Now, yeah, there's also a title track on it, right?
No, no.
No. Yeah.
The, the album title is like kind of nonsensical because it doesn't like relate to any moment on the album. That's kind of like a I had like a list of potential album names.
Hmm.
That one just kind of stuck with me for some reason. I think it kind of summed up because a lot of the songs, I guess, are like there's like themes of like finding yourself and dealing with like not knowing that, and also written in
Yeah.
the context of a global lockdown. We are back home with your parents with nothing else to do but play guitar. It's it's ripe for some existentialism. So I think that sums
Yeah.
up that really well. But also, I just couldn't think of anything that I kind of thought sat well with them. So I kind of stuck with it for ages. Um, my partner Grania, immediately when I told her the name, she was like, "Oh, it's like that Tom Jones song. Like you can leave your hat on." And I was like, and for a couple of months, I was like, I can't do that because everyone's just gonna be like Tom Jones.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but then I just thought, fuck it, I'll just go with it. See it. It's
Yeah,
fine.
definitely. So yeah, I can definitely I didn't think the title was this deep, but like it makes so much sense, like how to put your head on.
Yeah,
Almost like how to put this life on in a way. Yeah, definitely
that's
feel
that's
that.
that's the kind of metaphor in my head, as corny as it is. That's what I was thinking. I can't remember when or how I actually thought of that sentence, but um, yeah, there was just a whole pile of things, and then there was a brief moment where I thought maybe I'll call it like "Set It Alight" because that was the first single, and that's
Mm.
kind of the one that most people know. But then I was like, that's really corny. Like that sounds so corny. Like, hey, listen to our album, "Set It Alight," man. I was like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah,
That's too much.
I
So I just,
immediately thought of the Bee Gees and
yeah, exactly. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a disco album or something.
yeah.
"Set It Alight" would not be good. Like, it would not be good. So I'm glad
No,
you put
it's
your hat.
definitely yeah, it's definitely having a because I'm currently living with my parents because I wanted to move to Ireland this year, but
All
then
right,
yeah, but now I'm saving up for a big America trip at the end of the year,
nice.
so Ireland next year, hopefully.
Where were you hoping to go in Ireland?
um, Probably the West Coast because everyone goes to the East Coast and like Dublin and Cork are a bit expensive, so I
Yeah,
thought especially like let's go to the no one talks about that, and
stick to
also
the
I've read a book called The Home Scar, and that one was about a sibling, like two siblings doing a road trip on the East Coast on the west coast of
yeah,
Ireland, and
yeah,
I just liked the descriptions and watched a bunch of documentaries. I was like, this sounds more of like a writer's paradise to sit
yeah.
in and
The West Coast is beautiful, like Galway and stuff. Or like
yeah,
I've only been to Galway like once, but immediately I was like, I love this place. It's
yeah,
gorgeous. Like, I went to Sligo
mm,
once when I was a kid, and I spent a lot of time growing up in Donegal, which is kind of northwest.
yeah,
Um, all beautiful, all beautiful. And you're right, like people like always instantly go to Dublin,
yeah,
or like or Cork, as you say. But I've never really liked Dublin that much.
mm,
It's become so expensive.
yeah.
It's also just radiates like London energy now, which I can't hack. It's like
Yeah.
we went the last time I went there, I think was for me and Grania went to see Keaton Henson,
Hmm.
um, and we spent the weekend in Dublin, and it's just like stressful. Like you're walking about the town, and everybody is just you can tell everybody's going somewhere. No
Yeah.
one's like cutting about to have a nice time. Everybody's like going to work, like running to get somewhere in a rush, and you're just like
Yeah.
up the street trying to relax, and like people are running past you at like 30 miles an hour, and I'm like, I can't do this. This is
Yeah.
normal.
It's
Every
giving major London vibes. Yeah.
Exactly. London's even worse for it. People are going
Mm.
40 miles an hour, never mind 30. It's just, it's mental. I can't do it. I find it so stressful to be somewhere like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to move to London first, but I didn't get a job because I need visa, obviously, now with Brexit
Yeah.
happening. But I went another time last December, and because I had a bunch of concerts were there, like the Oracle Sisters were playing there,
Oh, nice.
and then yeah, but then I didn't like it anymore, and I was glad I decided to not take on a job and live in London. So
And it's like London, especially, like insanely expensive. And
mm,
I played a gig there last year, and we played at a pub called the Cavendish Arms. We had a great time at the pub, but like I met like a couple of people. It's kind of tucked away, and I met
mm,
a couple of people, and you have such classic like London conversations. It's like you can't just like have like a bit of small talk and be like, oh, how are you? What's the crack of your life? It's always like, oh well, yeah, no, I'm like working on this like
yeah,
new show, or like I'm trying to get a job at like Netflix or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's so stressful. Like I
yeah,
just wanted to know like where you were today. Like
yeah,
I don't need to know what your dreams are. Like that's great. You go for it, but I couldn't
yeah.
keep up with it. I couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So yeah, no, West Coast, Ireland, maybe next year.
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
Yeah, definitely. But I wanted to do the America trip for some time already. So I was like, this year I'm doing it, and been saving up since then.
Yeah, that'd be class.
Oh, how do we? Oh, yeah, because of the the existential crisis mode. Because I'm living back with my parents in Germany. So definitely the album, like "How to Put Your Hat On," was definitely a better choice of the title, because
Yeah,
it's more of the title of the album I'm listening to when I need to get away from the house and take the car and just drive somewhere.
that's good. That's good. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah,
glad it's worked. It's paid off.
yeah, exactly. And we circled back the conversation, which is good.
Yeah, we went on a big sidestep there, talking about Ireland.
Oh well, every time. um, yeah. So I've nailed down my favorite songs of the album. Do you want to hear them?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I want to.
Okay, so the opening song is just a brilliant opening song. Like "Simple Life" is
Thank
I
you.
it's a perfect opener. And then "Don't You Hate That Way," and I didn't even know that that was the single you would like. That was around. I listened to the album around the time you had struggled putting it out on Spotify, so I didn't
Yeah,
even know that was a single. So, but I listened to it and I was like, oh, this is a good single, and it's a good kind of pause in the middle
yeah.
of the album. Yeah, and then I absolutely adored "Repeat and Repeat." I
Oh,
really did. It was, I liked it. It was like it's such a also like I loved how on your album you didn't stick to like 3 minute or 4 minute songs. You actually went in length sometimes, and I absolutely like. I've had a couple of musician friends over last weekend, and we talked about how there are no guitar solos anymore in today's music, and I was like, oh, you should listen to like Kilgour's new album when it comes out, because like they have absolutely some solos in there, and I just
I
yeah.
know. Every single. That's the funny thing. Like as soon as I finished writing this album, I was like, oh my god, every single one of these songs is like verse, chorus, really long instrumental bit with just ridiculous guitars over the top of it. But that's kind of what I was going for when I bought that guitar. I was like, I'm gonna write some really noisy tunes here because
Exactly.
better to do, and it sounds like fun. Um, I'm glad you liked Repeat and Repeat. That is the oldest Kilgore song to survive. We
Oh
played
wow.
that one in at our first gig in like 2019, and it was like before. I think I'd written it before we did any of the other tracks in the album, and we had just written like My Parents' Car and Corners and done them as singles. So that's like the oldest one that we kept. There was a whole pile of other ones that were just rubbish, and we threw them away. But um, yeah, that one was gonna open the album. Like that and Simple Life were gonna like swap places, and it
Yeah.
was good because I was kind of torn because both of them I think would be good openers because they've got like that solo guitar moment. Like Repeat and Repeat would be a bit more like in your face, like the album
Yeah.
started, and
Yeah.
I originally wanted that, and then Ewan was like, nah, I think Simple Life's a better opener. Kind of just sneaks in,
Yeah.
sounds all sweet and all. It's like a bit piratey or something that song.
Yeah.
Nah, and then it just like hits you with a big loud guitar. So I'm glad we went for it in the end.
Totally. Yeah. And repeat. I think "Repeat to Repeat" has the perfect spot in the album, because it's like
Yeah,
you listen to the album and then "Repeat and Repeat" is on, and you're like, oh yeah, this album is really good.
yeah. I think I agree. I think it like what we landed on like flows really well. Like the first half is like kind of loud and a bit more like upbeat, and then the way it transitions into from like Don't You Hate the Way, and the latter half is like a bit darker and a bit
Mhm.
slower. But Repeat and Repeat is kind of in there to keep a bit of the first half.
Exactly. Yeah.
It works well. So I'm glad you like it. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is that also like you have also vinyl? I just remember. Do you have? Is that also like the? Is that the? Is like that? Is that the side A and that's the side B? Yeah.
Yeah, side B starts on Don't You Hate the Way.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was because as well because we knew it was going on vinyl. That
Hmm.
was the decision as well. That factored into it. It was like, well, what's gonna work well? Like on us,
Yeah.
like if we want, how do we want the first half to sound, and then how we can kind of split them that way rather
Yeah.
than if it was just on streaming, we
Yeah.
maybe would have focused on like getting what we thought were like the singles like right at the start, which
Mm.
yes we ended up doing anyway because all of the singles were on the first half apart from Don't You Hate the Way, but um yeah, it was nice to like split it up and be like, well, the first half can be this like noisy, like ridiculous guitar solos, and then break it up a little bit with the second half.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Nice. I'm always curious in like how someone, does the order and decide to do that because like yeah, I'm coming from more from a, when I'm writing novels, I'm coming more from a linear space.
Yeah,
Obviously, I cannot change up the chapters. That would be a bit. That would be. It would be a bit funny and like a puzzle piece putting together. But yeah, I love to hear how artists, change the order and stuff like that. Yeah.
it's much the same, I guess. Like as with the novel, you'd want it to like flow in the right way. Like you want to, you don't want to like fire all of the emotional energy in
Yeah.
the first chapter,
No.
and someone has like nine more to go. So you want to like tease it out in the right way that's going to convince someone to like get through the whole thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's fun. I actually enjoyed that process more than I imagined I would have. Like um just sitting and like listening to it in different orders and stuff, which is probably, a reflection of my ego. I just love just sitting listening to myself for hours and
Oh
rearranging songs. But
no, you're completely normal. I bet every single one of my musician guests I had on the podcast have said that. And like, yeah, I have loads of musician friends, and they will do that. And
yeah,
I'm also listening to my poetry readings over and over again. So it's all right. I guess it's just a. I mean, it's a good way to reflect also on our work and what we want to improve in ourselves and what we like also about our work. Yeah. So
yeah.
don't feel unusual about it.
Cool. Cool.
um, yeah. So what is your favorite track of the album?
Uh, it's between "Don't You Hate the Way" and uh, "Go Inside." I think the last track.
Mm,
Um, just because I really like the lyrics on "Go Inside." It's annoying though. It's like one we can't really. It doesn't translate well live. That
mm,
translate live that well. Like it's very long and there's not much going on. Like I think it works as listening to it as a track. It has that energy, but we're finding it really hard to like find a way to keep that up when we play it live
mm,
without just like throwing too much random new parts on it. So we haven't got around to perfecting it live yet, but I still really like it. I think I really like the lyrics. I think they're some of the best lyrics I've written. And yeah, I just really liked it. I was really trying to go for Not by Big Thief, that song.
mm.
I wanted like a long, just kind of repeating guitar thing
Yeah.
that was like 6 minutes long and just obscene. And it was fun. It was fun to write. Don't You Hate the Way as well. I think mostly just because of everyone's parts on it. Like that was the first tune that Katie recorded on for us, and then getting the cello and all the extra bits and um, just adding like new textures. It was like really fun. It was a fun process to like. I'd never had added strings to a song before.
Yeah.
Never written a song where I was like, yeah, that could I could you could put strings on that.
Mm.
It was Keelan's idea. He was like, I think it really reminded him of Something in the Way by Nirvana, and he was like, I can imagine some like really dark, depressing cello in this, and I was like, yeah, that could be cool, and it works. I think it's good.
Yeah. It definitely works. Um, yeah, I'm curious, what comes first for you? Does lyrics come first, or I mean, you said like you build up the songs on the drums.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, when most of the time for this album, it was music first, and then kind of constantly just write lyrics and like on my phone and stuff
yeah,
like that. And so I'll like build like a kind of rough structure of a song, and then just kind of loop it and try and find lines that I've already written. Um,
yeah,
and I can most of the time what happens is I'll like find like one that works. I'll be like, oh, I like that, and that'll kind of give me an idea of what I want the melody to be and like where the words would flow, and from there I can build off that line. Or else sometimes I can take like a full verse from my notes and just plonk it in there, and it's always great when that happens. But it
yeah,
doesn't happen that much. But yeah, mostly music first for this one. I think I write lines all the time just because they sound cool, or
yeah,
else if I think something's interesting, but I can't like I have to have like a melody to fit words into. I can't. I find it hard to be like I've written this verse. I'm just gonna sing it
Mm,
somehow now, and then build music around it because I don't have the musical know how to do that. So, but yeah, music first most of the time.
nice. Yeah. And yeah, where do you get inspiration from for the music? Do you just sit down, practice, and then like jam out and hope something's coming out of it?
Most of the time, yeah, it's like it's fun since I like just before I started writing these tunes and kind of started Kilgour, I got like a better laptop and was able to use like GarageBand and things.
Yeah.
So that was the first time where I was able to like um write down like ideas for like a drum part and then try and write over that.
Hmm.
And that way I found really fun because you're not just sitting like if I'm sitting with like an acoustic guitar and nothing else, I'm gonna write like a sad like folk song on the guitar. Like I don't think I can write anything else. But if I like think like, well, I want the drum beat to sound like this, then I can map that out and just play along with that, and then write something kind of more deliberately. So I did that a lot for this album. Then we kind of start out with like wee drum beats or and things like that, and then I would just play away until something stuck.
Nice. Yeah. I'm fascinated how you keep repeating how the drums is like the like the base for the songs because like that's not usual like that's not usually what happens like from like experience like seeing musicians work or like especially bands work because usually it's like the drums are somewhere in between us like oh yeah we have a drummer right to play
Yeah,
something. So I'm
I think the drums. Well, I was a drummer first. I
right.
played drums in a bunch of bands when I was much younger. Um, well, I was kind of a drummer first. I did like guitar lessons when I was really young, hated it, and then dropped the guitar for ages, and then played drums for like 7 or 8 years. And then it wasn't until I was like 17 or something, and I really got into Ben Hard that I started playing the guitar again and playing a lot with like different tunings and things like that. But yeah, I think maybe as a result of that, I've always been aware of like the drums are really important. Like the drums can make or break a song. Uh,
Yeah.
like the melody could be cool, but if there's no rhythm to it, like keeping it like that is why the melodies and like the groove of something is good because the rhythm behind it is
Yeah.
important. So I've always found it really important, which is why like it's great having Jimmy on board now because he's a great drummer. Just like the less direction I have to give somebody, the better. So
Yeah.
he's very good at just like listening, and even if there isn't like a part in mind or something, he knows the feel, he knows what he's going for, and uh, as well, like he if he has ideas or whatever, he's no qualms about sharing them, and quite often they're good. So
Right. Oh, I'm so proud of me. I sense that you were a drummer because I was like, okay, he plays guitar, but like he keeps repeating the drums. Something is there. Something somewhere is there. So
I guess the I played drums for ages, but then I've never learned to drive. So I think eventually there was a subconscious part of me was like, I can't keep having to track drum stuff on the bus. This is too much. It's a nightmare. Uh, and with guitar, it's much easier. So
yeah.
I do miss playing drums. I haven't played drums in years now, but it's one of the funner instruments to play live because you're at the back, like you're
Hmm.
just you're just hitting things. Like it's just so fun, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but it's also one of like the worst instruments to be a player of because it's so expensive and
Hmm.
so massive. Like you can't walk about with a drum kit. Like it's
No.
impossible. Like whereas at least the guitar you can throw in your back and have like a pedal bag and stuff like that, and you're grand. It's heavy,
Yeah.
but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, practically drums are a nightmare.
Yeah. Um. Nice. Um. Okay. What are it doesn't have to be on the album, but like, what are some favorite lyrics you've ever written?
Uh, I really like the lyrics of "Set It Alight" and "Go Inside," as I mentioned. I think my favorite lyric from Set It Alight is the second verse, the no sweet colors all the time. No sweet colors, I see them all the time. I don't know what it is about that line. I just really like it. It
Yeah.
makes no sense. What does that mean? But I
I
just
bet
like
it has a deeper meaning as well.
probably there's a subconscious meaning in there that's gonna attack me one day. Um, but yeah, no, I like it. With Go Inside as well. I like, what's my favorite line from that? I have to remember all the words now. Um, I can't think of a specific line from that. And I guess as well, Solarhead, I like the lyrics too. Um, Mostly
Hmm.
like the way they flow. Uh, Again, when I think about them like in depth, there's the verses really don't make that much sense. But I like the line, uh, "Crowds get angry now, never noticed how." I always like
Hmm.
that line. But yeah, that's those would be my favorites off the top of my head.
Nice. Okay. Um, yeah, if you could send the album to any artist or band, dead or alive, knowing they would listen to it, who would it be? And if would you want it to get feedback from it, or rather just a more of like, oh, I like it, or well, was not my taste.
I think it would be cool to get feedback from it. I have tried a couple. I sent it to Dive, the band. They're from America,
Yeah.
and I sent it to their email when it was done, and was just like, "Hello,
Yeah.
I'm a randomer. I've just finished this. I really like it. Hope you get back." And they didn't, but I did actually. This band, let's show you. They're from Germany. Actually, they're from Berlin.
Oh wow.
They're called Swain. They used to be a hardcore band called This Routine is Hell, but they're now like a kind of Nirvana-y grungy band called Swain. And they're one of my favorite bands. And I've sent them singles. I sent them our first single, My Parents' Car, and the guy replied and said that he loved the harmonies, and that was a little that was a proud moment for me. I was like, nice, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I sent him the one we did after that, and he was like, cool. And then I think I sent him another one. He stopped replying, so I think I've burned that bridge. He's probably like, this guy needs to leave me alone now. But yeah, that was cool to get a response from him. It was
Nice.
just nice, like uh, yeah, it's just nice to get like recognition isn't the right word, I guess, but it's nice to like share something with someone that like isn't a friend, like it's
Yeah.
someone that you don't know directly or you've never met in person, and then they can get back and be like, oh, this is good job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's nice.
Yeah.
Means you're not like,
Definitely.
means you know like you've done something good if someone you don't know gets something.
Mhm.
I think that's an enjoyable part of the process.
Yeah, definitely. I had that with my second novel. My debut novel, I just kind of sold it to friends and family,
Yeah,
no one special. But the second novel, because I've also like, um, because I'm self-publishing, I went this time with like a distribution company as well. So my book, is can be found in Waterstones or something. So,
yeah,
um,
that's cool.
yeah, thank you. So that was the first time when I like received an email being like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I've just finished the novel." And I was like, "Oh wow!" And like getting the feedback, and especially like um when like in a novel you usually try to hide a message. I mean, sometimes in songs as well, but like novels usually have a message underlying underneath. And so when someone, especially strangers, reaching out and it's like telling you they've got the message and you're like, yay,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's class. It's really good. Like, and it's like confident, like instills confidence in you because it's hard. I think it's hard as like a creative person sometimes, like when you don't have like the money behind you, or like
Mm,
you like you've done something like with for music. For me, it was like a hobby for so long. Like I just always did it on the side, and then this was the first thing I was like, well, we're doing an album now. It's coming out like this. There's things that people could buy. I should take this a bit more seriously and like, you know,
yeah,
do the work to try and get people talking about it. And it's hard to like take yourself seriously enough to do that sometimes, to like email people randomly and just be like, hey, I have this. I think this is worthy of mentioning on your blog or your site or whatever. And I'm sure it's the same for like writing a novel.
yeah,
It's like any kind of creative work. You really have to like, you have to find the courage to like be like stand in front of it and be like, this is mine. And
yeah.
this isn't for my friends. This, like, I made this for me. my friends and family, I hope they enjoy it.
Yeah,
They'll listen to it. They're supportive, but like ultimately, like I want people to find this, you know.
exactly.
And it's it's just like it's still like a cheesy thing. Like you feel
Oh,
like
absolutely.
you know, a little shudder being like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
a
you feel a
musician,
bit cringe sometimes.
you know. And it's brutal. Like but it has to be done. It has to be done. I
Yeah.
did have a guy. I was at a gig like 2 or 3 months ago, and I was standing at the bar, and it was just a friend's gig, and this guy came up to me. I can't remember his name now, but he was like, "Are you the guy? Are you the guy from Kilgour?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, your song Solarhead." He's like, "Oh, I was like on my Spotify Rap this year. It was like one of my top listened to songs." And I was like, "That's class." And he was like, "That's just mad." Just walked in, and I was like, "Where's that boy from my Spotify for Artist thing?" And I was like, "That is crazy."
That
And then
is cool.
what was he? I think I maybe like I don't know, came across as a bit like stunned or something because I was kind of just like, "Oh,
Totally,
thanks."
yeah.
And then he was like, "What was he saying?" He called him. He's like, "Is that all right?" Like, and I was like, "What?" And he was like me coming up. It's like, "Is that okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
class. It's amazing." But it's like hard not to be like, you don't know how to respond to be like, "Yeah, that's me," or just be like, "Ah." It's
Yeah.
weird in between of the two, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice when like people you can see that someone has like got something from it.
Yeah.
It's rewarding, I think so.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's why I'm having the podcast, and I mean I'm now trying to reach like I started out just pitching, my favorite artist, and I didn't usually get a reply because I was like, 15 and in my bedroom. I mean, I'm still in my bedroom, but I'm not 15 anymore. And I don't have, yeah, I have the podcast already for some time now.
Yeah,
So I'm reaching out now back. I'm like, like Maggie Rogers is putting out an album and things like that. Or like Angel Olsen, like
yeah,
would love to have them on the podcast. But I think definitely one of the reasons why I also and still want to focus on like smaller and upcoming bands is definitely of like I just love the feeling. For example, I once went to a concert in London where I just went to see the opening band, and I was the only person in the entire room who was there for just the opening band. And and I definitely talked with the artists afterwards, and they were like, "Yeah, I think you were the only one who knew really the songs and stuff like that." But it's such a good, also like as a fan, it's such a rewarding feeling, I think, from both sides. And so it's good, to have the courage to speak to the artist as well, to be like,
yeah,
to not
definitely.
be shy and be like, oh, but like say it. And also as the artist also to share like, yeah, you were totally the only person who knew the songs.
No, it's definitely worth it. And like, there's nobody in the world that wouldn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny being on the receiving end of it, even like for one interaction.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, but it's good. It is good.
That's good. I hope you have in the future more moments of that, people be like, oh, Kilgour, and you were like, yeah.
Here's hoping. The funniest one is like the very first time that happened. I was standing at the train station waiting to get the train to work, and it's kind of like man like walked past, and he was with his daughter, uh, and he was like kind of stopped, and he looked at me, and he was like, "Are you Finn from Kilgore?" And I was like, "What is going on? It's 8:30 in the morning. I'm going to work. What is going on?" This was like a year and a half ago, and then it was just our bass player's uncle.
But
I was like,
still.
it's like existential crisis for like 15 seconds, being like, what has happened? How is this? How does this person know who I am? And then I was like, oh, it's Ewan's uncle. Happy days. That's grand. We're sweet.
That's good though. That's good. Yeah. I had the moment once at a concert in Manchester where I was standing in the crowd. It was a tiny venue as well, but someone came up to me and was like, "You interviewed the front singer." And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Wait, wait." And then she thought about my name, and then she was like, Bonnie's Legends. And I was like, yeah, I'm Bonnie. And she was like, yeah, I love the interview. And I was like, oh, cool. I mean, obviously, then they tried to like tag along with me. So they would talk to the art, like, so they would be able to
Yeah,
talk to the artist. But it was still like an experience of like, you interviewed the front singer. And then how she, like, the moment where she like thought of my name, it's so funny because like I have it in my podcast name, Bonnie's Legends.
yeah.
So like, That was definitely a moment where I was like, I am a music journalist. Nice to meet you.
Definitely, there's a validating element too, which I think
Yeah,
no matter how small you should recognize.
yeah, definitely. Have like an evidence folder somewhere in your notes app, being like, someone just came up to me and recognized me.
So when
Yeah,
you have a bad day, you just read through it, be like,
exactly, exactly, exactly. Nice. Okay, so we're reaching the end of our interview.
cool.
This was such a nice, like, because I'm recording on Sundays as well. So sometimes I'm like, oh, I hope it's, it's casual and not, not, they don't want, like, they don't expect two professional wives going on. So I really enjoyed having a bit of it was definitely more of like, let's drink a cup of tea together and talk about music, kind
Yeah,
of.
no, it's nice. Thank you very much for having me on. This is lovely.
Yeah. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to make at the end of this conversation
Uh, like,
for this album or in general?
I guess just listen to it when it's out. If you are watching in Glasgow, come to the gig on
Yeah.
Saturday. It's going to be out before the gig.
I think the gig is on the same day when the episode is coming out.
Okay, cool. Well, if you see it, run to stereo right now and come to the gig.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, honorable mentions. Just I guess thank everybody that helped make the album. Um, everyone at the label, everyone in the band, Keelan, our producer. So many people to thank, which is good. It's been a nice collaborative process. But yeah, thank you very much for having me. This was very fun.